Did you know that there are subtle signs you can notice that may indicate someone is nearing the end of their life? As our loved ones age, it can be hard to know when their time is near, but there are a few warning signs that we shouldn't ignore. It's one of those things that can be really difficult to think about, but understanding these signs can give us a chance to provide better care, offer comfort, and prepare ourselves emotionally for what's ahead. It's so important for family members, caregivers, and friends to be aware of these signs. When we notice changes in our loved one's health, behavior, or mood, it's not always just a passing phase. Sometimes it can be an indicator that they're facing a significant health challenge, or that they may be approaching the end of their life. Being aware of these signs doesn't just help you understand what's happening physically, it also helps with emotional preparation. It allows you to make the most of the time you have left together, making those final moments more meaningful. In this video, we're going to talk about 5 critical signs that could suggest an elderly person is nearing their final year. Now, I know this might sound a little heavy, but it's not all doom and gloom. The key here is early awareness. Recognizing these signs in time can help ensure your loved one receives the right care, and it can give you the chance to make their remaining time as comfortable and special as possible. So stick with us as we walk through these important signs, and remember, knowledge is power. It can make a real difference in how we care for those we love. Point 1. Significant weight loss or lack of appetite. Weight loss or a lack of appetite in older adults can be a subtle but important sign that something might be going on in the body. It's easy to think of it as just a natural part of aging, but unexplained and significant weight loss can actually be an early indicator that the body is slowing down or not functioning as well as it used to. When you notice someone losing weight without a clear reason, it's important to pay attention and think about what could be behind it. Let me tell you a story about 2 elderly individuals, John and Mary, both of whom experienced this issue in different ways. John, in his late 70s, had been eating less for a while. He noticed that he wasn't as hungry as he used to be, but he and his family just chalked it up to aging. It was assumed that it was normal to have a smaller appetite as people get older. Over time, however, John's weight continued to drop, and he started feeling more fatigued and weak. His energy levels were lower, and he wasn't able to do the things he loved. Eventually, after some months, it became clear that John's body wasn't absorbing nutrients effectively. He was losing weight, and that lack of proper nourishment was beginning to take a toll on his health. But by then, the situation had already become more serious. On the other hand, there's Mary. She too started eating less, and her family noticed that she wasn't finishing her meals as she once had. Instead of assuming it was just part of getting older, her family decided to be proactive. They consulted with her doctor, who ran some tests and discovered that Mary had an underlying health issue that was making it difficult for her body to absorb the nutrients from her food properly. Thankfully, because they caught it early, Mary's doctor was able to adjust her treatment and diet plan. The weight loss didn't continue, and her energy levels started to improve. So what can we learn from these stories? First, it's important to keep an eye on any changes in weight or eating habits. If you notice someone in your life is losing weight without explanation, it's worth paying attention to. Sometimes, subtle signs like a decreased appetite or not finishing meals can be overlooked, but these can be signals that something deeper is going on. In fact, unintentional weight loss can sometimes lead to malnutrition, which can further complicate health issues. If you're caring for an elderly loved one, and you notice they're losing weight or not eating as much, it's a good idea to track their weight and eating habits. It doesn't have to be complicated. Simply making a note of how much they're eating and whether they seem to be losing interest in food can be helpful. If the weight loss continues, or if there are signs of malnutrition, it's definitely worth consulting with a doctor. They can check for possible underlying health conditions like digestive issues, thyroid problems, or even things like depression, which can all affect appetite. For practical tips, if you notice that someone's appetite is decreasing, try offering smaller, more frequent meals instead of larger ones. Nutrient-dense snacks like smoothies, yogurt, or high-protein snacks can help make up for the lack of larger meals. These foods are easier to eat and can still provide the nutrients needed. Just remember, the goal is to keep them nourished while figuring out what's going on beneath the surface. In the end, weight loss in older adults may seem like something minor, but it can be a sign that the body is not absorbing nutrients properly. The key is to be observant and act early, just like Mary's family did. Don't hesitate to reach out to a doctor if you're worried about your loved one's health. Early intervention can make a huge difference. Point 2. Decreased mobility and increased fatigue as we get older. It's not uncommon to notice changes in how our body feels and moves. One of the subtle signs that can start to show up is a decrease in physical activity, and this can be a big indicator that our body is starting to feel more tired. For many older adults, it can feel like just getting through the day takes more effort than it used to. The energy we once had seems to fade, and even simple tasks like getting up from a chair or walking across the room can feel exhausting. Take Sarah, for example. In her 70s, she suddenly found herself more tired than ever. Something as simple as walking across the room felt like a huge effort. She had always been independent, but now she needed help getting out of bed. Her body just seemed to have lost the energy it once had, and it worried her. She wondered if this was just a part of getting older, but it was frustrating and disheartening. Sarah's fatigue made her less active, which only made her feel more tired. Then there's Robert, who is in a similar age range. Unlike Sarah, Robert took a different approach. Even though he also felt tired at times, he made it a priority to manage his energy. Every day, he would take short walks around his house or outside, even if it was just for a few minutes. He also made time for some light stretching exercises, keeping his joints and muscles active. His routine wasn't intense, but it kept him moving, and that made a difference. Robert noticed that by staying active, even just a little bit, he didn't feel as fatigued, and his body seemed to handle the tiredness better. These two stories highlight a key difference in how elderly individuals can approach their changing energy levels and mobility. While it's natural for energy to decrease as we age, it's also important to find ways to keep our bodies moving. A decrease in activity can actually make things worse, leading to more stiffness and more fatigue. So what can you do if you're noticing this in yourself or a loved one? First off, try to implement a light daily exercise routine. Even just a short walk every day can help keep your joints and muscles active. If walking seems too much, try stretching exercises. Stretching is gentle and can really help improve mobility. The goal isn't to do something strenuous, but rather to keep the body from stiffening up and to prevent that constant feeling of fatigue. Also, it's always a good idea to talk to your doctor about what you're experiencing. A healthcare provider can offer advice on how to manage fatigue and mobility, ensuring that you're not pushing your body too hard or doing exercises that might not be right for you. They can also check for any underlying health conditions that could be contributing to the tiredness and help find solutions to improve your energy. Staying active, even in small ways, can have a huge impact on how you feel day to day. Robert's approach of incorporating movement into his routine kept his energy up, while Sarah's lack of activity made her feel more drained. It's important to remember that small steps can make a big difference. Keeping your body moving is one of the best things you can do for your overall health and energy. So whether it's walking, stretching, or just moving a little bit each day, it all adds up, and it can help reduce that feeling of constant fatigue. Point 3. Emotional and cognitive changes as we age. It's not just our bodies that experience changes. Our emotional and cognitive well-being can shift too. For many, these changes can be subtle at first, but they may begin to affect daily life in ways that aren't always easy to recognize right away. It's important to pay attention to these changes, as they can sometimes signal something more serious, like depression or even early signs of cognitive decline. One of the more noticeable emotional changes is withdrawal from social activities. Imagine someone who's always been the life of the party, always eager to join in on family gatherings or neighborhood events. Then over time, they start avoiding social situations, even when invited. They may appear more distant, less engaged with others, and in some cases may even become a bit reclusive. This emotional withdrawal can often be linked to feelings of loneliness, sadness, or confusion. Take, for example, Susan, a woman in her late 70s who had always been the social butterfly of her community. She loved hosting dinners, attending book clubs, and catching up with friends over coffee. But over the course of a few months, her family started to notice a change. She began turning down invitations to gatherings, often seeming disinterested or saying she was too tired to join in. Her family also realized that she was forgetting small but important details, like where she had put her keys or the name of a friend she'd known for years. This sudden shift in behavior was concerning for her family, who had never seen her act this way before. They couldn't understand why someone who had always been so lively and engaged was now so withdrawn and forgetful. On the other hand, Thomas, another elderly person, shows a different side of aging. Even in his late 80s, Thomas has managed to keep his mind sharp by staying active in various hobbies and social activities. He enjoys reading books, solving crossword puzzles, and attending a weekly chess club. He also makes it a point to regularly check in with his neighbors and family, even if it's just a brief chat on the phone. While his physical health has slowed down a bit, his emotional and cognitive health remains strong. He stays connected to the world around him, which helps keep his mind engaged and his mood steady. These examples highlight how different people can experience aging in distinct ways. While Susan's withdrawal and confusion could be early indicators of depression or even a cognitive issue, Thomas's continued mental engagement is a positive example of how staying socially active and mentally stimulated can help preserve emotional and cognitive health. So what can you do if you notice similar signs in a loved one? If you're a family member or caregiver, it's essential to gently encourage the elderly person to stay engaged in their environment. Simple conversations, even if it's just asking about their day or discussing a favorite topic, can make a big difference in how they feel. If they seem interested, try introducing mental exercises or puzzles. Things like word games, trivia, or even memory exercises can help stimulate their mind and bring a sense of accomplishment. However, if you notice signs of depression, such as prolonged sadness, hopelessness, or a deep sense of withdrawal, or if confusion becomes more frequent and impacts their daily life, it's important to consult a healthcare provider or a mental health professional. Depression in older adults is often overlooked or dismissed as a normal part of aging, but it's just as treatable as in younger people. Cognitive decline, too, should be taken seriously, and early intervention can make a significant difference in managing symptoms. Aging doesn't mean we have to lose our sense of self or stop living with purpose. It's about making small, positive changes that help keep the mind and spirit strong. Whether it's through connecting with others, staying mentally active, or seeking professional help when needed, We can all work together to support the elderly in leading fulfilling lives as they grow older. Point 4. Chronic or unexplained pain. Chronic or unexplained pain is something that can often be overlooked, especially in older adults. It's easy to think of pain as just part of aging, but the truth is that it can be a sign of something more serious. The body sometimes struggles to handle certain issues, and pain can be a subtle indicator that something is wrong, even when it's not immediately obvious. This is why it's so important to listen to your body and take chronic pain seriously, no matter how small or normal it may seem at first. Let's take a look at 2 real-life examples of how different approaches to pain can lead to very different outcomes. First, there's Alice. Alice is in her late 70s, and for several years, she's been complaining about joint pain in her knees and hips. Her family often brushes it off, thinking it's just part of getting older. After all, many people her age experience joint discomfort, right? But over time, Alice's pain only got worse. She could no longer walk as far as she used to, and even basic tasks like standing up from a chair became a struggle. It wasn't until she had a fall and was rushed to the hospital that doctors discovered her joint pain was actually a symptom of an underlying condition, like osteoarthritis or even something more serious, which could have been treated with proper care much earlier. By the time Alice sought medical help, her condition had worsened, and it became much harder to manage. Now, let's contrast Alice's experience with Bill. Bill is also in his 70s, and for months, he had been dealing with persistent back pain. Unlike Alice, Bill didn't ignore the pain. He visited his doctor early on, and together they worked out a plan. Bill followed through with the treatment plan, which included physical therapy and a few lifestyle changes to help manage the pain. Over time, his back pain became more manageable, and he was able to keep doing the things he enjoyed, like gardening and going for walks. Bill took his pain seriously, and because of that, he was able to catch the issue early enough that it didn't interfere with his daily life. So what can we learn from Alice and Bill? The key takeaway here is that pain should never be ignored, especially if it's chronic or unexplained. Even if you think it's just a natural part of aging, there could be an underlying issue that needs attention. Early medical intervention can make a huge difference in managing pain and improving quality of life. If you're dealing with chronic pain, it's important to consult a doctor as soon as possible. Sometimes, it's as simple as making a few changes or starting physical therapy to help ease the discomfort. Regular checkups can help catch any potential issues early on, preventing them from becoming more serious or harder to treat. Remember, your health is important, and it's never too late to take charge of it. So if you're experiencing pain that doesn't go away, or if it's getting worse, don't wait. Seek help from your doctor. The sooner you take action, the more control you have over your health, and the better your chances are of managing pain and improving your overall well-being. Point 5. Decreased interest in personal care as we age. It's natural for energy levels to change, and sometimes the way we approach personal care can shift too. But when that shift seems more noticeable or persistent, it could be a subtle sign that something is going on with health or mental well-being. For elderly individuals, neglecting basic hygiene, grooming, or dressing could be a red flag that shouldn't be ignored. Let's start with a story about Eva. She's an elderly woman who, over time, stopped caring for herself in the usual ways. Her family noticed that she stopped taking regular baths, didn't change her clothes as often, and even stopped brushing her hair. At first, they thought it might just be a phase or something temporary. But as time passed, they began to see a pattern. Eva's neglect of personal care wasn't just about being tired or forgetful. It was tied to a decline in her overall health. She had been struggling with mobility issues and felt too weak, or exhausted to take care of herself the way she used to. Unfortunately, the emotional toll of feeling unwell also contributed to her disengagement with self-care. This is something that happens more often than people realize. When a person's energy is drained or their mental state isn't as strong, they may lose interest in things that once brought them comfort or joy, like maintaining their appearance. On the other hand, there's Jack. Jack, an elderly man, was in a similar position, but his family was very proactive in encouraging him to stick with his personal care routines. Jack's family made sure he had gentle reminders to continue bathing, brushing his teeth, and even dressing in clean clothes every day. They found that keeping up with these routines had a noticeable impact on his mood and mental state. It wasn't about perfection, it was about the routine itself. When Jack maintained his personal care, he felt better emotionally. It gave him a sense of purpose and helped him retain some control over his day-to-day life. This simple act of self-care gave Jack a boost in self-esteem and helped him stay more engaged with the world around him. For many seniors, losing interest in personal care can be linked to physical or mental health struggles. It's not always about laziness or lack of motivation. In fact, it could be a sign of depression, cognitive decline, or other health issues like arthritis or chronic pain. When someone feels weak or overwhelmed by their health challenges, even the smallest tasks can seem impossible. Sometimes they may also feel embarrassed or ashamed about needing help, so they avoid asking for assistance. So, how can you gently encourage an elderly person to maintain their personal care while still respecting their dignity? First, it's important to create a supportive and non-judgmental environment. Instead of forcing them into a routine, try suggesting simple, small steps. For example, you might offer to help them with their morning routine or offer a warm, comforting bath. Let them know it's okay to ask for help and that they're not a burden. If they're feeling embarrassed about their appearance, focus on the positive, compliment them on their efforts, and gently remind them that self-care can help them feel better overall. Creating a consistent routine can also be very helpful. For many elderly people, having structure in their day provides comfort and reassurance. Set up a schedule that includes time for personal care, but be flexible. Some days will be easier than others, and that's okay. If you can, offer assistance with grooming or dressing, but make sure they're still involved in the process. This might mean choosing an outfit together or letting them decide when they want to bathe, while offering help as needed. It's also important to provide emotional support. Sometimes, simply talking about how they feel or showing empathy can go a long way. If they're struggling with a lack of motivation, encourage them to talk about what might be affecting them emotionally or physically. Acknowledge their feelings while gently guiding them back to the importance of self-care. The bottom line is that personal care is a key part of maintaining a sense of self-worth, and it can have a direct impact on mental and emotional well-being. By offering gentle encouragement, creating routines, and maintaining respect for their independence, you can help an elderly loved one navigate the changes that come with aging without sacrificing their dignity. Have you noticed any of these signs in an elderly loved one? Or maybe you have some tips on how to care for aging family members that you'd like to share. Drop a comment below and let's start a conversation. It's always helpful to hear from each other, especially when it comes to taking care of those we love. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe for more tips on taking care of your loved ones. We're all in this together, and by sharing what we know, we can make a real difference in each other's lives. Remember being aware of these signs, like weight loss, changes in mobility, emotional shifts, chronic pain, and neglecting personal care, can allow for better care and a more peaceful, meaningful time spent with our loved ones. It's not just about identifying problems, but taking proactive steps to ensure they're treated with the respect and care they deserve. As we've discussed, the 5 signs we covered today, significant weight loss, decreased mobility, emotional and cognitive changes, chronic pain, and neglect of personal care, are all key indicators that something might be wrong. Recognizing them early can make a huge difference. The sooner we address these issues, the better quality of life our elderly loved ones can have, and the more comfortable and dignified their time will be. Taking small actions to address these signs, whether it's a change in diet, seeking medical help, or simply spending more time together, can have a lasting impact. It's not always easy, but it's so worth it. Every step you take, no matter how small, makes a difference. What steps are you going to take to ensure the well-being of your elderly family members? Let us know in the comments, and please share this video to help others understand these important signs. It's about making sure they live with the dignity and care they deserve, and we can all help in that journey.